So, I am not going to lie to you folks, this one is going to be rough. So without further ado, here, take a look at that. Get that down you. Have a look at that. How does that make you feel? Pretty good, eh? I bet that makes you feel pretty good. In fact, have a look at this as well. Yeah, drink it in. Take a look, yeah. In fact, do we have a panda? Yep, here's a panda too. Yep, there's a panda. Take a look at the panda and think happy thoughts just for a little second. Because today, we're going to be talking about Hog by Samuel Delany. Now, we've been on a journey together. If you're just joining, there's been a few videos now where we have been looking for the most depraved, the most disturbing, the most messed up literature ever written. And this was a big suggestion, all the way back in the first video when I first brought it up, Hog by Samuel Delany. Lots of commenters suggested it. And so I got it, I have read it, and I have some thoughts. As the title says, I could barely get through it. Maybe not for the reasons that you suspect, but it was pretty rough going. How do we even discuss it? So it was written in 1969, although it wasn't completed, it was dabbled with before it was published in 1995. And it was also written about in a book called The Straits of Messina, which is a Samuel Delany book where he basically reviews and critiques and, you know, in essay form looks at his own work, and Hog was one of the books that he looked at and critiqued. I haven't read that, cards on the table. I've only just read Hog, and Hog is, I mean, it is unbelievable. I mean, we'll just talk about it, and it's going to be hard to even talk about it. So, Hog is basically about a young boy, as these stories tend to have been involving young children. Again, Hog is about a young boy who is nameless. He doesn't have a name, but he is referred to as cocksucker. There's no other way around it. That's the only thing that people refer to him as. I'm not going to refer to him as that. I'll refer to him as the narrator from here on out. But that is the kind of ride you're in for. Anyway, Hog is about this young boy, and he's basically sold into sexual slavery to the titular character of Hog. And anyway, let's just get into it if you want. I mean, I'm doing it now. As I said, I feel dirty even talking about it, much less making a video about it. But we'll wade in, and we'll try and be as tactful as possible. So, at the start of the book, chapter 1, at the start of the book, the young boy is living with a young Hispanic boy named Pedro. And they are basically performing. They're basically prostitutes. They're basically underage child prostitutes. Pedro, the young narrator, and Pedro's sister, actually, as well. And they're going to host bikers. They're going to host, and specifically mentioned a group of black men. One of the black men goes out of his way to choose the narrator as a companion, and this black man will come up later on in the story, and really there is no other way. Even the characters' names are sort of impossible to talk about in a tactful way, so I'm just going to throw it up on the screen. There's his name, that's what it is. I won't be calling him that. Again, I will be referring to him as the African American gentleman from here on out. In fact, I shouldn't even use the word gentleman. In fact, we're too deep in it now. Anyway, African American gentleman points out the narrator to spend some quality time with. And that's it. We then move on. And the narrator has moved on from this scenario, and he is introduced to the titular Hog. Hog is a man, is a horrible. I use the word man. I'm going to be using a lot of terms like man and humanity and plot and narrative very, very liberally, very loosely. I'm going to be using these words. Anyway, Hogg is a man who is just like the basest level gross. He is just absolutely gross. He's not even like Hannibal Lecter or Judge Holden from Blood Meridian, where he's like enigmatic and cool. He's just awful. He's gross, he's horrible, he's disgusting in every sense of those words. We are introduced to him having his way, shall we say, with a woman in an alleyway. Consent also is not a word that Hogg is familiar with, nor are many, if not any of the characters in this book. Consent is not a word that appears in their dictionary. So Hogg is having his way with a woman who perhaps is not best pleased with the situation that she is in. He calls over the young boy to participate. And that's it. They are now together now. The young boy is with Hogg. They go back to his truck because, of course, he is a trucker. They go back to his truck and Hogg explains to the boy that he gets paid to force himself upon anyone and anything, basically. He goes out of his way to... You get what I mean? I'm sitting here dancing around, but I'll move on. Anyway, he's awful. So they drive to this person, this client, we suppose, who is hiring Hogg, and Hogg is going to assemble a team that are basically going to go out and, like I say, attack and force themselves upon, specifically in a sexual manner, force themselves upon and violently assault. Just anyone, as I say, anyone and anything. They meet up with the African American gentleman from the start, another character called Wop. That's his name. That's his name, and a character called Denny. They all meet up. Denny seems a bit sort of meekish and a bit weird compared to the other sort of uber violent guys. Anyway, they set out on their way to complete their jobs. They assault basically everyone. You're talking about wheelchair-bound people. You're talking about entire families, mothers, fathers, children. They're like pack animals, and they just descend upon these people. There's going to be a lot of if you've seen the video we did on the Marquis de Sade, the 120 Days of Sodom, the way that, although I really don't feel comfortable, I'm only comparing them in the sense of just the absolute awfulness, everything you could possibly imagine human beings doing to each other or doing to other people against their will is presented to you. Spoiler alert, as we'll get into, I think there's deeper stuff going on, maybe, in 120 Days of Sodom that isn't going on here. That's why this is so rough to get through, because it's just happening. There's no sense of why, or any grand meaning, or any metaphor, or it's not an analogy for anything. It's just happening, and it's awful, and it's self-mutilation, it's assault, it's coprophenia, it's everything that you could possibly imagine. Anyway, they decide to go and meet a tugboat captain called Big Sambo. That's his name, Big Sambo. Anyway, they go away and they leave Hogg. They go away and they meet Big Sambo, who keeps his daughter basically against her will as a guess with the nature of what this book is about. Guess what he keeps his daughter as against her will. Or don't. Do you know what I mean? If you're still in this video, good on you. But anyway, they go and meet this tugboat captain called Sambo. Sambo manages to buy the narrator, basically. He convinces the other guys to sell him the narrator so that he's there now. So he's there now, and while he's with the tugboat captain, he can hear on the radio that there's been like a killing spree and that Denny, the young sort of meekish boy who has been sort of harming himself in the genitals while they've been carrying out these acts of violence on random innocent people. Anyway, the narrator is with the tugboat captain for a while, and he's then assaulted. He has sex with 2 garbage men who are then chased off by a policeman who then has sex with the young boy narrator. This is the level this book is operating on, and I'm not going to go too much into it, but really there isn't much left. In fact, I am actually going to stop there. But basically, the narrator finds his way back to Hogg. They end up together again. But it's like, what I've told you is the whole story, and here is the problem. Here is where, and herein lies the issue with this book, why I put in the title that I could barely get through this book. It is rough. It is the absolutely depraved insanity, and it just makes you feel dirty reading it. But that's all it is. There is nothing, in my opinion, there is nothing else beyond the surface of just the absolute awfulness. And it's, I mean, I guess it's well written. I mean, it's not. In fact, no, I take that back. I don't even think it's very well written. It just moves along at such a slow pace. And yeah, the first couple of chapters are like shocking because of what you're reading, but then it just becomes like meaningless. You're just reading it, then you just become numb to the horror and the insanity and the depravity. You do genuinely just become numb to it. The character of Hogg is, as I say, it's not like he's I could sit here and say he's one of the most insane, depraved, disgusting characters in all of literature, and that would be true, but that would be making out like he's like interesting. Like, as I said earlier, he's no Hannibal Lecter. He just is what he is. He's just the absolute worst kind of person that you could imagine. He's you know, he shits his pants. You know, he shits and pisses in his own pants. He likes eating shit and piss. Like, he sexually assaults people for money. He's a sadist, like a classic sadist. He enjoys what he's doing. Anyway, I feel like I'm spending too much effort even talking about this character, because he's a sort of just, anyone could think of him. He's just absolutely awful from start to finish. The absolute worst type of human being that you could imagine. Anyway, that's Hogg. I wanted to do a video just talking about Hogg. I'm currently reading 69 Things to Do with a Dead Princess, so if anybody else is interested in having a look at that, I'll probably be doing a video on that, and probably a couple of others next time. So anyway, yeah, that's it.
No, we've only got one. Ta-ta! And farewell. So I guess getting in the car.